Is that all right?
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your painting.
The painting was done in about 2-3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an abstract piece, and I like the painting very much, and it is intricate in its forms, and I like doing it. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. Also,
We'll get on later with all that.
Okay. Now we're at the Redwood Gardens art show, where some of Harold's work is on display as we speak. This is the second picture that's in the art show this weekend that Harold Zegart created. And there's the man himself. Hey, Harold. Harold. Talk, it. So how you like the art show?
Huh?
How you like the art show?
How do I like the art? Very much.
Yeah. So you're enjoying the art show?
Huh?
Are you enjoying the art show?
Very much.
Great. Have you sold anything?
Huh?
Have you sold anything today? You sold some fun. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
No, I haven't sold.
You have not sold nothing. You haven't sold anything, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, this is one of his. Anything you'd like to say?
Huh?
Anything you'd like to say? Oh, see? Hi, I'm talking with Harold Zegart. I'm in his home/studios. We're just here to ask him a few questions. Harold, can you tell us when were you born?
I was born in 1925 in Chicago. Lived on the south side of Chicago up until the age of 18. I went both to grammar school and high school there. And at 18 I joined the Navy. The Second World War was on. And I joined the Navy and was shipped out to, instead of Great Lakes training base in Chicago, they sent me to Farragut, Idaho, which is way on the other side of the United States. Then I was in the service almost 3 years. And mainly I was flying on a patrol bomber, and I was a gunner in a turret on the aircraft, and I also shot pictures with a K-20 camera of ships and of things of interest that were needed during the flight. After the service, most of my time in the service was spent, part of that service was spent in the Pacific areas of Saipan, Guam, Tinian, the Philippines, and the war stopped in 1945 when we were in the Philippines about to patrol the area of Japan. After that, I went back to the West Coast and then on to Chicago, where I went to the Institute of Design, which was sponsored by Maholi Naji, and took photography at that school and also some sculpture. I did a lot of editorial work during that time, and then went out to the coast. And went to the California School of Fine Arts and did photography there under the guidance of Ansel Adams, Weston, and Minor White, who, as I said, was a very gifted man. From there, my brother came out to do some filming for United Nations on refugees returning from Shanghai, going to the Middle East, on their way to Europe first, and then to the Middle East. While they were at the railroad station, I photographed them getting off the train on their way to a ship to take them to Europe. While my brother was filming, I shot stills of the refugees, and a man who was watching, who I later found out was a writer with him. His name was Fred Zinnemann. He was a film director, and he came over to me and asked me about what I was doing with the refugees, and asked me if I took us out to dinner, and then asked me to look him up if I got down to Los Angeles, which I did on my way down to see my sister in Hermosa Beach. I saw him on several occasions, and on one of these occasions, he asked me if I was interested in photographing a film of his going to be shot in Italy. And of course I jumped at the opportunity. I couldn't work, because of the union, I couldn't work in the US, so I was able to work in Europe at that time, because there were no film unions at that time. I worked in Italy, near Bologna, Italy, spent about 2 months there, and then because I wasn't in the union, could not work on part of the film that was shot in New York. But I still kept in touch with Fred and spent 3 years in New York working for magazines, Glamour, Vogue, I think Harper's at one time, and other magazines. And then working with my brother who was doing filming for the United Nations. That's about all. Do you want me to go on to California? I already said that.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little history between yourself and Fred Zinnemann?
Well, I got to know him real well while we were in Italy, while filming this film. He was very nice to me. He, I think, hoped that I could get into the union, which I was not able to do at the time. And I used to visit him on occasions when I went down to visit my sister in Hermosa Beach.
Yeah.
So that's about it.
What kind of films Fred was part of?
Zinnemann did a lot of films. One of the beginning films he shot, or he was filming, directing, was a film called The Search. It had to do with children in Germany after the war. And then he did a series of theatrical films in the United States and then in Europe. He did High Noon, From Here to Eternity, The Sundowners, The Men with Marlon Brando, some others. That's about it.
You're sitting right in front of your latest creation.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the picture that's behind you?
Well, it's 2/3 finished, and I may change some of the color in it, but it's an abstract painting, and it pretty much evolves from the drawings I make on 8x10 typing paper. I usually sketch out a sketch of a painting I want, at least the beginning forms of it, and then transfer that image onto canvas on a 5x6 canvas, and this one I've done over 470 paintings, and this painting is a part of the series of abstract paintings that I've been doing over the years. So does that do it?
That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, good. Well, that was cheap. Very good. She didn't see. She was like, we were in our little Toyota Corolla, and she was in like a Jeep Cherokee. Oh man, where do you guys get it? Where on the car? Where? It was right in front of Butterfield. I was stopped letting, like the other people going like west on the train.
We're here at the Smith Anderson's gallery here in San Antonio, California. I'm here with Stefan.
Yes.
And you're the coordinator of...
I curated the show, the Golden Decade.
Okay.
It's a show that revolves around the San Francisco School of Fine Arts, 1945 to 1955 in San Francisco. And it represents about 32 photographers that are from that era. All photographers, women and men as well, came into the school right after World War II ended, and it was a program designed by Ansel Adams, and ran. The program was run by a couple other photographers, Dorothea Lange and Minor White, and they invited a handful of other people coming in to teach courses and lectures and such. Edward Weston, Imogen Cunningham, and such. And so the exhibition right now on the walls, there's 140 plus images that represent anywhere from 2 to 8 images per artist. What else could we say? Harold Zegart, I know that is of interest and concern about this this documentary. He was one of the photographers that was rather very difficult to get a hold of some of the works, but each work that I've seen so far, the works I've seen were primarily the works that he photographed in Italy, and they're incredible images. One would not even know it would have been maybe either minor white or it could have been another photographer that had done them, but the very social documentary work. And I'd say that he falls in a group together with a handful of other photographers that studied there that are very prominent. And I'm very interested to explore more of his photography in the future, and hopefully giving him a show of photography if we can get a hold of some of his images. So if you have any other questions.
Yes. Can you tell us two of the pieces that's in the gallery of his? Can you tell a little history about it?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know all that much history about the work itself, except for that he came into the school and you can see the influence of his imagery. He definitely had a strong influence from Minor White. The one picture with the different kind of calipers and tools is just compositionally, one could say that he is truly like a painter in the way he approached his composition and how everything's kind of held in coordination and such, as well as the portrait of the three children. Those three children from Italy, those are a very fine example of also extreme concern with the composition and the way he wanted to accept the final image and decide that image is prepared to be printed and completed. So I'd say he's a real formalist in the way he approaches his imagery in photography and painting. And I have just seen just now some of his paintings, and they're very much connected to his photography in the sense that they're pretty much exactly the same composition. Yeah, so I'd say that the show here has attracted a lot of different interests. We've had some museum collections purchasing some of the work. If I had more of Harold's work, I know that I would have been able to sell some of his work for him and have them placed in the proper collections, which is very important, especially with a new book, The Golden Decade. So.
Okay, I'll get a shot of that in a few seconds, actually.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Yeah, the book has been written by 3 photographers from the group. It was their idea to actually come up with it. Bill Hike, William Hike, Ira Latour, and Cameron McCauley. Today, Cameron McCauley, he's not around anymore, but William Hike is still, at this time, present time, he's still around. He's 95 years old. And William Hike was a photographer. He was also a gardener during the time. He was, trying to make a living as a photographer and such. But his imagery is very, very powerful and potent. He's did all kinds of projects, anthropological films, and such. And Ira Latour, another photographer, he is a photographer that ended up being in charge of the Nuremberg photo archive for the Nuremberg trials in Germany in the 50s. And he became a professor at Chico State for 30 years. And he's retired now. He's about 90 years old today, but still busy with his imagery. And then Cameron McCauley, his imagery is very, very strong. You can see his influence very much so from Minor White and also from Dorothea Lange. A lot of social documentary work, street life photography and such. And he was very active in pushing to make this book come true. So the book was actually compiled and written, in a sense, by these 3 photographers. And I believe it started about 15 years ago. And then about 8 years ago, from this day, 2010, Ken and Victoria Ball, or Victoria White and Ken Ball, Victoria's father, Don White, was one of the photographers in the school, and so through her research and interest in her father's work and trying to understand the whole kind of time frame of that period, of that decade there, of different students and such that her father worked with, she decided to work together with people and make sure that the book would kind of come through. So they offered their services to help compile the book and finalize it. So it's a pre-published book right now, but it's sitting right now with what's it called, UC Press, looking at it this time. We don't know if they're going to publish it or not, but there's about 365 pages describing the history of the school, the students, the teachers, and 32 of the photographers' works independently, really describing each photographer. So there's also there's a film as well by a woman named Denise Richards.
Okay.
She's doing a film kind of following her, Don White, Victoria's father's kind of footpaths of post-World War II photography.
Okay.
So the show we're hoping to see kind of continue and travel to different museums and such, different venues.
Yeah.
So there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you tell us,
Yeah.
your email address here?
Email address? It's Smith Anderson North. So it's Smith Anderson, SMITH Anderson, ANDERSEN, and North, NORTH. So, and sorry, .com.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
These are all the artists that are in this gallery. These are.
Mm-hmm.